A55, just catching up with a Womble vehicle on our way to Caernarfon Airport for social visit today. No flying, just picking up a radio I've had programmed there by one of the members of staff. And not a bad day, it's a bit cold, only about 5 degrees out there today. Nice calm weather. Nice and dry. The sun's beginning to come through. It was spectacularly good sunny forecast this morning, but the reality behind the curtains was anything but. Lots of moisture up there, lots of condensation trails, so just a very weak watery shadows today, but it is slowly improving. Quiet on the Britannia Bridge by the looks of it. You're just coming up to 1 o'clock. Actually, strangely enough, it feels like it's much earlier. So most of the boat traffic, ferry traffic, will have already crossed over. So the journey from home to Caernarfon is about half an hour or so. Taking it easy as we do. Never in any hurry on this bike. Lifesaver before we lose one lane. 2 into 1 system here, which is why we have the perpetual queues, or at least when the boats come in. It's a clear path over Britannia. Tide is out. Looks like about slack water, more or less. So yeah, we got the old Oxford heaters keeping us a little bit more comfortable. Had these fitted when I took delivery of the bike, which was a second hand, as viewers already know. But it was only an 800 mile on the clock sort of bike, and yeah, I found the Oxford heaters made a big difference on the CB500 I had prior to this. And because I'd fitted new tyres by coincidence onto the 500 just before I sold it, the nice people at A&D Motorcycles met me halfway, as it were, and installed the heaters for free in exchange for the new tyres. And even though this bike's got the wind guards, I don't find it particularly effective. So the heaters make a big difference. The trouble with the hand guards is that they look nice and chunky and covering a big area in front of your hands, but in fact the air comes from underneath, the cold air comes from underneath. So not as good a design as it could be, and there's no real latitude to tip them further down. So there you go, they make a difference. Just coming past the Vaynol estate. As you can see by the very substantial stay well out wall topped by slate. Used to be busy with concerts and such like, but no longer, I believe. Gwalia Garage, thank you very much. They have a rolling contract with North Wales Police to pick up cars nobbled by the police. They'll take the low loader and pick you up if you get done for no tax, insurance, accidents and such like. Okay, so these people are slowing down a bit for reasons unknown. We'll just and we run out of road at the top here, so keep things safe. We just outrun them a bit. There you go. So although the indicated speed is greater than the speed limit, there is an error that works in our favour on this bike. So don't write in to tell me it was faster than the speed limit. So here we go, agricultural trailer of some sort, truck. We're just underneath the speed limit, so that's fine. We quite often see a what we still call an Arrive Alive or a Go Safe van, as it's called, a North Wales Police speed check van. Popular place as they come around the corner, having just completed an overtake, and they get caught at that lay-by. I haven't seen them around these parts for a few weeks now, actually. I guess they get more victims during the summer, where it's far busier and far more non-local traffic, tourists who don't know to expect trouble around the corner. So we're just coming on to the outskirts of Caernarfon, as it would be prior to the construction of the Caernarfon bypass, which mercifully relieves us from the very long queues, slow traffic snaking its way through what is essentially a medieval, actually pre-medieval town. The Romans were there, expanded considerably in the medieval period. Edward I and his castle, so we no longer see the sights of Caernarfon. The bypass is a little bit long, but it's fairly quick. So there we go. Slightly confused indicating often here, because you get people coming down that road more often than you'd imagine. But anyway, let's get past this truck. That's him dispatched. Yes, and like most bypasses, I suppose in Britain, but certainly in Wales, there are far too many roundabouts. So you're making good progress like this at 60 miles an hour or thereabouts, and then a mile down the road, as we will on this stretch, come across a roundabout. It doesn't seem to make much sense really, because the junctions of those roundabouts are usually not very busy at all, so it seemed to me that a slip road would be better, but I guess they take more land, cost more to build, but yeah, roundabouts, very annoying. And they're the same down the coast on the A55, where we occasionally, as this summer, had some very spectacular events where a 4x4 pulling a pretty substantial caravan completely failed to notice that there was in fact a roundabout in front of him, and he just took off and ploughed into a truck and a car on the other side of the roundabout. Really quite spectacular. There's video online and news footage and all the rest of it on YouTube, no doubt. It's well worth a look. Unexpected things that could happen to you on a roundabout. And here is one of said roundabouts. See the traffic going off to the left there is just, well, it's going to Llanberis, which is a fairly busy place, but relative to what's going straight ahead, there's very few indeed. So there you go. That's what we have. A little bit quick on the approach there, and then off we go. Lifesaver there, nobody there. Inevitably get the boy racers who try to outrun me on the acceleration out of here, but not today. Nobody around. Quiet Tuesday lunchtime. The bike friend. So at this stage we're about, I don't know, 10-15 minutes out from the airport. Sunshine's beginning to increase in strength, but very slowly, no wind. It's a slightly nicer version of the high pressure gloom we had for what seemed like an eternity for the past 2 or 3 weeks, and now it's still high pressure, but it's just kind of this watery, wintry sunshine. It isn't quite sort of strong enough to entice you out into the hills for a walk or something like this. If it was clear, it'd be probably alright in t-shirt, but yeah, it's pretty cold. Let's have a look. What does the old thermometer say? It says 9 degrees here. It's not bad. 63 on the engine. Let's go back a bit there on the... Tend to have the clock on the average miles per gallon. 55.6 is the long-term average, which I think for a 1000cc bike, or 1043cc I think it is, that's pretty good. The 500 I had was returning about 80 odd miles per gallon, 77, 80 miles per gallon. Yes. That was one of the crane family you just saw in the on the right hand, on the left hand side I should say. It's, why can't I think of the name of it? Caernarfon in Welsh. And that'll be a heron in English. So this is another favourite haunt of the police speed van, although it tends to look away from this carriageway. But not today. According to the police and a few bikers I've been speaking to recently, they do use drones for speed monitoring now. They sort of target it at bikers for some strange reason. All the cars I see speeding are indeed cars and not bikes. I see very few bikes speeding. I see bikes driving a bit sort of crazily, but not necessarily speeding as well. Cars, well, they don't seem to know what speed limits are. The one coming up behind me right now, I'm doing 60, allowing for the error, and off he goes. Be doing at least 70. One of those days where when you're driving south you kind of get the idea that if you just carried on you'll find yourself somewhere nice and warm like Spain, which would be quite nice, wouldn't it really? I suppose I've got the time to do it. and the money really. I never really seem to get round to it. I'd have to be a lot more organised. The trouble from North Wales, of course, is when you go into the continent to catch the Eurostar or the ferry, it's a very long way down to the south of England. So the only place that's convenient in terms of getting away for me is Ireland. That's literally a 20-minute spin down the road to Holyhead, catch a ferry, and you're there in about 2.5 hours, I think, with the conventional ferries we have now. We don't have the high speed anymore. Remember, this is a 40. There we are. Speed, there we are, slightly. Yeah, so Ireland's good. We haven't been there either, so I'm sure perhaps in the spring or in the summer we'll nip across. There we go. People on bikes, maybe on their holidays possibly. That is Bethesda Bach. We'll make our last 5 minutes approach to Caernarfon Airport. If we could cut across from this point here, we'd be there in about a minute, but unfortunately it's at the end of what is effectively a sandbar, I suppose you could call it. What used to be a sandbar. So we have to go round. The land around the airport is marshland, the Forrid estuary. So nobody's ever built a road across that. Here we go. Let's get ready for our turn to the left. Try again, shall we? Turn to the right. The other left, as they call it in aviation. Nobody behind. Traffic approaching from ahead. Should get ahead of that, unless we get a truck coming in. Yeah, there you go, there's always something going down there. Should we get a clear path? There we go. Yeah, so down this little single and a half track, I suppose you could call it. If you're used to these kind of roads, you can get a car and past each other quite easily on here. A lot of people are tourists though, so they're not used to it. Fourth gear gets us along here quite happily for the moment until we hit the 20-mile-an-hour limit, so it'll be down to third. So let's hope that the friend at the airport has programmed my little radio. It's basically a mobile phone in the form of a radio. That allows you to I suppose you could say pretend that you're using it as a radio, but using the mobile phone network as the conveyor of the signal, so the radio itself is only communicating with mobile phone masts, so it's not a direct point-to-point thing. But it has its uses because it opens up the whole world, so you can quite easily find yourself chatting to somebody from anywhere in the world. You can also use amateur radio repeaters. You have to be amateur radio licensed for that. Show evidence of your license in order to get a call sign or access to the sites. It has its uses. If you live in an area where there's not an awful lot of activity on certain more local ham radio bands, like 2 meters, 70 centimeters, it's a passable alternative. If you just want to chat with somebody and you don't really care who, which is the way of amateur radio, well, there you go. It gives you the option to do so. So I just had it programmed to listen to some other services. It widens its appeal. Quite expensive, about £170 for the handset. So if you look up Echo Link, that will tell you all about how the system works. Although there are other things like Zello, which are very popular now. But I haven't really got fully to grips with the whole thing, and to be perfectly honest, sometimes it's much easier just to pass it on to somebody who's younger and has done it before, so that's what I did. It gives me the perfect excuse to come back a week later to Caernarfon Airport and get myself a nice warm chocolate, although it's not too bad actually, warmed up on the way out, which is good. And a chat with whomever will listen, which on a weekday like this is probably going to be a fairly big audience, because there's not an awful lot happening. Get the military coming in, helicopters looking for fuel after the exercises out in the Welsh Hills, yeah. So this is a very nice final mile into the airport. Flat calm out to sea today. But it is a 30-mile-an-hour zone, although I've never seen anybody enforce it. So we'll keep it at 30 or thereabouts, within error. And yeah, much of the land, pretty all the land to my right hand side here is effectively at or even below sea level during very high tide and storm events. Long-term future, or the medium-term future, the way we're going actually means that they haven't really got long left. Imagine that one winter we'll have a big storm, and all this sort of shingle storm protection, which is mostly artificially built these days, or the waves build it up as well. Oh, here comes an aircraft, look. Cessna coming in, landing. Try and slow down so you can see that crossing the scene. Yeah, it's all going to get washed away and there'll be big floods. It's not a Cessna, it's a Jabiru, really. Which explains why it's going quite so slow, even though there's no wind. There he goes. Nice landing. There we go. So we got Caernarfon Airport, little air museum, popular with the families. And Bristow's helicopters, who took over from the RAF search and rescue at RAF Valley. Nope, better turn here actually. I tend to go with the car to the other entrance, but with a bike. Easier here. David, one of the instructors, used to be an observer on these helicopters. Seems to have finished his stint at instructing for this morning. See you later, folks. And there we are, folks. That was Caernarfon Airport social visit of the week. Not an awful lot happening today. One poor gentleman, rather elderly, lined up on the wrong runway for departure. And, tower corrected him, and off he went on the right one. Yeah, it's nice and sunny now compared to when we arrived. Late afternoon sunshine. Came up at 3 o'clock. Make our way home. It's significantly warmer than it was as well. Just rather nice. Take the heated grips down a little bit. No, overly sympathetic. Ja, weer. Jesus Christ. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed the comment-free video. Coming back onto Britannia Bridge. Things are moving nice and freely. nice sundog in some waves up there in the cirrus. The rainbow coloured patch which appeared on either side of the sun. Not very strong at the moment. It was a bit stronger earlier when we were looking at it from the control tower.